Hey, before you scroll past this, I want to ask you something. How does it feel to walk into your bedroom at the end of the day? If the honest answer is overwhelmed, anxious, like your brain doesn't actually slow down even when you're in there, this video is for you. Because here's what most people don't talk about. If you have ADHD, your bedroom might actually be making things worse. Not because you're messy or disorganized or lazy, but because the space itself was never designed for how your brain works. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to change that. Not expensive renovation, not a perfect Pinterest setup, just real changes that make a real difference. First, I want to explain something because once you understand why your environment affects you this way, the solutions are going to make a lot more sense. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment. Every single thing your eyes land on, a pile of clothes, a sticky note, a charger that is not plugged in, gets registered as information that needs to be processed. For most people, the brain quietly filters out most of that. Background noise, not relevant, move on. For an ADHD brain, that filter is much weaker. So instead of filtering, it keeps scanning. Every visual detail is competing for your attention all at once. Researchers call this visual noise, and studies show it directly increases anxiety and exhausts what's called your working memory. That's the part of your brain that helps you hold a thought long enough to act on it. So when your bedroom is cluttered, your brain is literally working overtime just by being in there. You're not resting, you're processing. And it gets even more specific than that. A lot of people with ADHD also have what's called sensory sensitivity. That means certain lights feel too harsh, certain sounds are impossible to tune out, and certain textures on your skin are generally distracting, not just annoying. So if you ever thought, I can't sleep because I can't turn my brain off, part of what's happening is that your environment is sending your nervous system the wrong signals. The bedroom is supposed to be a place where your brain gets permission to slow down. But if the space is chaotic, overstimulated, or unpredictable, your brain never gets that. The good news, you can change the signals. And I'm going to show you how room by room, layer by layer. Okay, let's start with the thing that has the biggest impact and gets talked about the least, lighting. I know, it sounds boring, but stay with me because this one change alone can genuinely transform how your brain feels in a space. Here's the science in one sentence. Light is your brain's main signal for whether it should be awake or asleep. Bright, cool white light, the kind it moves overhead fixtures, tells your brain to produce cortisol, which keeps you alert and focused. That's great in the morning and is the worst possible thing for your bedroom at 9 p.m. Warm, dim light, think candles, lamps with amber bulbs, tells your brain to start releasing melatonin. That's the hormone that actually makes you feel sleepy. For people with ADHD, this matters even more. Research shows that ADHD brains already have disrupted melatonin rhythms, so you're already fighting your biology. First, get rid of overhead light for nighttime use, or a minimum, put it on a dimmer. A 15 dimmer switch from any hardware store is one of the best investments you can make for your sleep. Second, add a lamp with a warm bulb. Look for anything under 2700 Kelvin. That's the warm level. You can find this at any grocery store now. Third, if you have a smart bulb, even better, you can program them to automatically shift warm in the evening, set it and forget it. That's the ADHD sweet spot system that works without you having to remember to use them. One more thing on lighting. Fluorescent lights are generally problematic for many ADHD and sensory sensitive people. They emit an invisible flicker that your nervous system registers even when your conscious brain doesn't notice it. The result? It's fatigue, headaches, and irritability that feels like it came out of nowhere. Now, let's talk about color. And I want to say something upfront. This isn't about having a Pinterest bedroom. This is about understanding how color literally affects your nervous system before you even consciously process it. Colors get processed in the part of your brain called the amygdala. That's your threat detection center. And it processes color before rational thought kicks in, which means color is influencing how you feel before you know it's happening. High saturation colors, bright reds, intense orange, electric yellows activate your sympathetic nervous system. That's your fight or flight mode. They literally signal alertness and urgency. Low saturation colors, sage greens, dusty blue, warm beige, soft terracotta, do the opposite. They lower your cortisol and activate your parasympathetic system. That's your rest and digest mode. For a bedroom, especially if you have ADHD, you want your walls and dominant surface to be in that second category. Not because it looks nice, because it sends your nervous system a message every time you walk in. You are safe here, you can slow down. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I love color. My personality is not beige. I get it. And here's the thing. This doesn't mean your room has to be a blank white box. You can absolutely have personality and warmth. The trick is contrast and placement. Use your bolder colors as accents. A throw blanket, a plant, one piece of art on a neutral wall. Let the large surface stay calm. Let the details have personality. Okay, now we're getting to the part that I think is the most emotionally loaded for people with ADHD, organization. Because here is the thing, most organization advice is designed for neurotypical brains. Put it away, out of sight, out of mind. That approach makes total sense if your brain naturally remembers where the things are. But for many ADHD brains, out of sight literally means out of existence. If you can see it, doesn't exist for you. So the solution of hiding everything in drawers and cabinets creates a different problem. Now you can find anything, and the searching itself drains your executive function. There is a design concept called affordances, the idea that an object visibility should suggest its use. For ADHD brains, this principle isn't optional, it's essential. So here's how to approach organization in your bedroom specifically. Rule 1. Visible doesn't mean chaotic. You can have open shelves and clear containers and still have visual calm, as long as they are in a consistent, obvious system. Think label bins, same color storage, everything in designated zones. Rule 2. Use what designers call the 80-20 rule. You use 20% of your stuff 80% of the time. That 20 should be visible and accessible on your nightstand, on open shelves, hanging on hooks. The other 80% can be stored away because you don't need it every day. Rule 3. Create what's sometimes called a launch pad, a specific designated spot for things. You need to transition your phone charger, your keys, everything in one place. No searching, no decision fatigue. And rule 4, probably the most important one. Design for your actual habits, not the habits you wish you had. If you always put your clothes on the chair, that chair is doing a job. Maybe the solution isn't to stop putting clothes on the chair. Maybe it's to put a hook next to the chair so the clothes have a better place to land. Work with yourself, not against yourself. And I want to say something here, and I want you to really hear it. If your bedroom is messy, it's not because you're lazy or you don't care. It's because the system or lack of system doesn't match how your brain actually works. That's a design problem, not your problem. The goal isn't a perfect room. The goal is a room where your brain can find what it needs, feel safe, and finally stop working so hard. Let's talk specifically about the sleep zone, meaning the area around your bed. One of the most important principles in sleep science is that your brain learns associations. If you work from your bed, scroll social media from your bed, eat from your bed, your brain starts to associate that space with alertness, not sleep. And then you wonder why you lie there for an hour unable to fall asleep. For ADHD brains, this association is even stickier and harder to override once it's formed. So the goal is to train your brain that bed means one thing: rest. Practically, that means a few things. Remove the laptop from the bed. If you use your phone in bed, at minimum, put it face down or across the room when you're trying to sleep. The screen light and the content both keep your nervous system activated. And for physical setup around your bed, weighted blankets are generally evidence-based for ADHD and sensory sensitivity. The deep pressure activates your parasympathetic system, the same mechanism as a hug. The key is getting the right weight, approximately 8 to 10% of your body weight. For bedding textures, if you're sensitive, synthetic materials can be a constant low-level irritant. Natural fibers, cotton, bamboo, linen, tend to feel more neutral and remove tasks. Seriously, a task you barely notice during the day can become unbearable when your nervous system is trying to calm down. Temperature is also underrated. Research constantly shows that slightly cool rooms around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit support sleep onset. Your body needs to lower its core temperature to fall asleep, and a cool room helps that happen. And sound, whether that's blocking it out or adding a consistent background sound. Unexpected noises are particularly disruptive because your brain is already primed to notice new stimuli. A white noise machine or a fan creates a consistent acoustic environment that masks those random interruptions. It gives your brain something predictable to tune out. And the last piece, and this one ties everything together, is what I call a transition routine, a predictable sequence of steps that signals to your brain we are shifting from day into rest. ADHD brains often struggle with transitions. The shift from doing mode to resting mode doesn't happen automatically. Your brain needs external cues to make that switch because the internal cues, the ones most people rely on, often don't fire reliably. So design the environment to create those cues for you. Maybe it's screens off, lamp on, one specific playlist, 10 minutes of writing anything that is still on your head into a notebook, getting it out of your brain and onto paper, then into bed. The specific steps matter less than the consistency. When you do the same sequence every night, your brain starts to recognize the pattern and begins to downregulate before you even get into bed. You're essentially conditioning your nervous system the same way you train any other habit. So keep it simple, 3 to 5 steps, not perfection required. The goal is good enough most nights, not a system you follow once and then abandon because it was too complicated. Let me bring this together. Your bedroom should be the one place in your life where your brain gets to stop working so hard. But if the space is fighting against you, too bright, too chaotic, too stimulating, that rest never fully happens. You don't need a complete renovation. You need intentional changes that work with your nervous system instead of against it. So start with lighting, then tackle one area of visual noise. Then look at your sleep zone. Each change builds on the last. And be patient with yourself in this process. You're not just reorganizing a room, you're redesigning how your brain experiences the space where it's supposed to recover. That matters. You deserve that. And I want to hear from you. What's the one thing in your bedroom right now that you think is messing with your brain the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and it generally helps me know what to cover next.